Hello and welcome into this week's edition of The Pole Position right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, welcome. This is a channel where we discuss lots of motorsports, namely NASCAR, ARCA, IndyCar, and Formula One. We do plan to broaden that scope eventually, but for now, that's what we cover. And we are covering each and every one of those on today's edition of The Pole Position because every single series that we cover was in action this weekend. All three NASCAR National Series, ARCA, IndyCar, and Formula One, all in action this past weekend. So we've got a lot to cover for you. So we're just going to dive right into it, and we will start with the action from the Michigan International Speedway. And with the ARCA Racing Series Zumongo 200 from Friday. Sheldon Creed was your winner in this one, picking up his first career ARCA Racing Series victory in that number 28 car for MDM Motorsports. Riley Herbst comes home in the second position. Michael Self, in his return to form after a disappointing Charlotte, comes home in the third position. Gus Dean and Joe Graff Jr. rounded out the top five. Rest of your top 10 were Will Rogers, Max Tolman, and Quinn Houff, Mason Mitchell Motorsports teammates there in 7th and 8th. Leilani Munter with her second top 10 of the season. And Cody Robaugh with another impressive top 10 finish there in 10th. So that was your results for the Zumongo 200 for the ARCA Racing Series. Now let's jump ahead a day. We'll stay at Michigan International Speedway for the LTI Printing 250. That was the NASCAR Xfinity Series event from Michigan on Saturday. Rain shortened, only got 91 laps of this race in. And Austin Dillon was your winner. He was out front when the rains came at lap 91. His teammate Daniel Hemrick came home right behind him in the second position. Cole Custer, Ryan Reed, and Paul Menard were the rest of your top 10. Rest of your top 5, excuse me. Rest of your top 10, Kyle Busch, Tyler Reddick, Kevin Harvick, Justin Allgaier, and Ryan Truex. Now we'll move on to Sunday to wrap up the Michigan action, and it was another rain-shortened affair from Brooklyn, Michigan. We made it 133 laps in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series event, the Firekeepers Casino 400, and Clint Boyer was the man out front in this one. When the rains fell, his teammate Kevin Harvick comes home in the second position right behind him with their other teammate Kurt Busch in third. The first time a 1-2-3 finish has ever occurred for Stewart Haas Racing, so congratulations to them. Kyle Busch and Paul Menard rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, and Jamie McMurray. Now, as you can see, there's 7 Fords in the top 8, so a very impressive showing for the Blue Ovals right outside of their home city of Detroit. Now let's move over to Fort Worth, Texas, to the Texas Motor Speedway, where we had a doubleheader on the weekend. NASCAR and IndyCar both there, as the Camping World trucks ran on Friday night in the PPG 400 kilometers from the Texas Motor Speedway. Johnny Sauter came away with his 4th win of the season. He's now won 50% of the races to start the season for the first 8. Stuart Friesen had one of the better trucks on the night. I think he had a really good chance to win there at the end, just couldn't quite close the deal, and Stuart Friesen comes home in the second position. He will get that first win here very soon, I'm sure of it. Rest of your top 5, Justin Haley, Grant Enfinger, and Matt Crafton, 2 ThorSport teammates there to round out the top 5. Rest of your top 10, Todd Gilliland, Tyler Young with an impressive finish in 7th. Cody Coughlin, Spencer Davis, and Noah Gragson, 2 Kyle Busch Motorsports teammates to round out the top 10. Now for all 4 of these first races that we've mentioned here on Pole Position, if you did not catch the rewind shows that we put up, we had a rewind show for each and every one of these races. So if you haven't seen those yet, you want to go check those out if you want a more in-depth recap of these races. We just kind of quickly go through things here on Pole Position, catch you up very quickly on what happened over the weekend. But if you want a more in-depth look at what happened in these races, highlights, results, full results, not just the top 10, post-race interviews and standings following the race point standings, you will want to go check out those rewind shows. All right, so moving on to Saturday night from the Texas Motor Speedway. That was the DXC Technology 600 for the Verizon IndyCar Series. Scott Dixon picks up his 43rd career victory in the IndyCar Series, moving him into elite company, sole possession of third on the all-time wins list for the IndyCar Series behind the greats of Mario Andretti and AJ Foyt. Simon Pagenaud came home in the second position. Alexander Rossi, James Hinchcliffe, and Ryan Hunter-Reay rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10 were Graham Rahal, Takuma Sato, Sebastian Bourdais, Ed Jones, and Charlie Kimball. All right, so one race remaining for this weekend, and that was the Canadian Grand Prix for Formula One. They were in Montreal on Sunday afternoon. And Sebastian Vettel picks up yet another win on the season, retakes the points lead from Lewis Hamilton as he and Lewis are having a very thrilling points battle this year in Formula One. Hamilton's teammate Valtteri Bottas comes home in the second position. Max Verstappen third, your pole sitter. His teammate Daniel Ricciardo in fourth, and the aforementioned Lewis Hamilton rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10 were Kimi Räikkönen, Nico Hülkenberg, Carlos Sainz, Esteban Ocon, and Charles Leclerc. Rounds out the top 10, the final driver receiving points from the Canadian Grand Prix. So, I think that's all I've got for you tonight. Like I said, if you want more in-depth recaps of the ARCA race and any of the NASCAR races, you will want to check out the rewind shows on the channel. They are the previous 4 videos that were uploaded before this one, so you just want to go check those out. There's one for each race, and we break those down a lot more in depth than we do here on Pole Position. So if you haven't done it already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing from racing news now. And hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. So with that, this has been the Pole Position, where you always start on the front row. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.